A very good morning to all of you. You're watching Rajya Sabha News. My name is Aditi Nagpal Girotra. Let's get the news rolling with the headlines first. Rajya Sabha to commence discussion on Union Budget 2020-21, 0-hour and question hour proceedings to be suspended for the discussion. Lok Sabha to continue further discussion on budget. Lok Sabha to take up direct tax Vivad Se Vishwas Bill 2020, bill for setting up of Ayurveda Institute in Gujarat also listed for introduction. Health Minister to make statement on coronavirus outbreak. Prime Minister Modi writes to Xi Jinping, offers assistance to deal with coronavirus. Death toll in China now 908. WHO sends experts to Beijing to investigate. .59% voter turnout in Delhi Assembly election, says Election Commission. Final figure delayed due to need to confirm data. Votes to be counted tomorrow from 8 a.m. onwards. Hollywood's Oscar night underway at Dolby Theatre. Parasite wins Best Director. Brad Pitt wins Best Supporting Actor for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Laura Dern is Best Supporting Actress for Marriage Story. A quick look at the legislative business in both houses of the Parliament today. Rajya Sabha will begin the general discussion on the Union Budget today. The House has decided not to take up the 0-hour and question hour proceedings to continue discussion on the budget. Further discussion on the general budget will continue in the Lok Sabha as well. And in some other legislative business, the Institute of Teaching and Research in Ayurveda Bill 2020 is listed for introduction in the lower house. The bill aims to provide for setting up of an Institute of Teaching and Research in Ayurveda in Jamnagar in Gujarat. The bill will be introduced by Minister Shripad Yeshunayak. The direct tax Vivad Se Vishwas Bill 2020 is also listed for consideration and passing in the lower house. The bill was introduced in the Sabha by Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman last week. The bill aims at reducing litigations in the direct taxes payments. Under the Vivad Se Vishwas scheme announced in the Union Budget, taxpayers whose tax demands are locked in dispute in multiple forums can pay due taxes by 31st of March and get complete waiver of interest and penalty. Under the scheme, if a taxpayer is not able to pay within the 31st March deadline, he gets a further time till 30th June. But in that case, he would have to pay 10% more on the tax. Union Minister Harshvardhan will also make a statement regarding the government's response to novel coronavirus outbreak in China. And now let's connect with our news correspondent Kriti Mishra, who's joining us live from the Parliament House. Kriti, how's the legislative business likely to pan out at both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha?
Well, Aditi, as you've mentioned, in the upper house today, the discussion on union budget will commence, remember, from 11 a.m. only after suspending the question hour as well as the 0 hour. The discussion would be taken up in the upper house. Now, the union budget focused on three important themes, whether it is about aspirational India, the economic reforms or caring for the society. In fact, for the farming community, there were 16 mega action points that were announced in the budget, as well as for the commerce and industry sector and also for the exports, and enhancing the disposable income in the hands of individuals for promoting savings, investment and consumption. So a very important discussion would commence in the upper house, where members across political spectrum will put forth their viewpoints. And talking about other legislative agenda, absolutely in the Lok Sabha, there's a very important bill, which is Vivad Se Vishwas scheme, direct taxes 2020, that was announced in the union budget this year by Finance Minister. Remember, earlier also the government had brought in a similar scheme for indirect taxes, which was Sabka Vishwas, that led to unclogging of several cases pertaining around 1,89,000 cases. And as far as direct taxes are concerned, remember, several cases are pending on various forums, including Commissioner Appeals, the High Court, as well as Supreme Court. And also the amount that is clogged in these cases is around 9 lakh crore rupees. So this is a very important scheme that has been brought by the government. This will not apply to the cases falling under Benami Transaction Prohibition and also under Prevention of Money Laundering Act. So this would be actually taken up for consideration and passage in the Lok Sabha today. And there's another important bill which pertains to Ayurveda, for creating an institution of Ayurveda and also according it national importance. And there would be also a statement by Health and Family Welfare Minister Harshvardhan on coronavirus. Remember, this statement has already been made by the Health Minister in the Rajya Sabha, wherein he talked about the quarantine facilities as well as the thermal scanning facilities at 21 airports, and also how a GOM has been constituted to actually monitor the situation in India. So a very important day in both houses of parliament. Over to you, Aditi.
Kriti, if we talk about the percentage of productiveness, how productive have been these sessions so far?
Well, Aditi, we've been seeing in both houses in Parliament, there were initial days of disruptions. But remember, despite disruption, we saw in fact, particularly in the Rajya Sabha, how Chairman said that all important or contentious issues could be discussed during the discussion on motion of thanks on President's address. Thereafter, we saw productivity of both houses of Parliament. In fact, several zero-hour mentions as well as special mentions were taken up. Several starred listed questions were also taken up, and we saw how both houses of Parliament adopted the motion of thanks on President's address. And of course, the discussion on budget is going on, and there would be legislative business in the Lok Sabha as well. So we can say that as far as this first part of budget session is concerned, we are seeing productive sessions in both houses of Parliament.
Thank you so much, Kriti, for all that information. And now let's get you all the news and updates from the upcoming Delhi Assembly elections. Delhi recorded a final voter turnout of 62.59%. The final voter turnout was announced by the Election Commission on Sunday. The female voter turnout was 62.55%. Male voter turnout was 62.62%. The highest voting of 71.6% was reported from Balli Maran constituency, while the lowest turnout was in Delhi cantonment at 45.4%. However, the turnout was 5% less than 2015, when Delhi recorded a voter turnout of 67.47%.
दिल्ली में 62.59% वोटिंग हुआ है। ये जो डेटा है ये हमारे पास प्रिजाइडिंग ऑफिसर्स के माध्यम से आता है। जब वो अपना वोटिंग के बाद जब पोलिंग पार्टी वापस रिसेप्शन पे आती है और अपनी मशीनें सबमिट करती है, सारे कागज़ सबमिट करती है, तो वो रात को देर तक वो प्रोसेस चलता रहा था और अर्ली मॉर्निंग तक स्ट्रॉन्ग रूम्स को सील किया गया था। तो ऑफिसर्स उसमें बिजी थे और साथ में इस डेटा की एक्यूरेसी, इसको एक्यूरेटली इंटर करना होता है ताकि कोई गलती ना हो। तो इसलिए मैं नहीं समझता हूं कि कोई इसमें विलंब हुआ है।
Counting of votes for Delhi Assembly polls will begin at 8 a.m. tomorrow. Strict security arrangements have been made for the counting. 21 centers have been set up that are under three-tier security net. Unauthorized vehicles and individuals are being kept away from these heavily barricaded centers.
काउंटिंग के हमारे 21 सेंटर्स हैं और वहाँ पर हर एक कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी के लिए एक काउंटिंग हॉल होगा। उसमें 10 से 14 टेबल्स होती हैं डिपेंडिंग अपॉन कि वहाँ कितने पोलिंग स्टेशंस हैं और सुबह 8 बजे 11 तारीख को हमारी काउंटिंग शुरू होगी।
The Ek Bharat Shresht Bharat campaign has begun today across the country. The 18-day-long focused campaign is being organized by the Information and Broadcasting Ministry. It will continue till 28th of this month. The campaign aims to promote the spirit of national integration through engagement between all states and union territories. During this period, each state and union territory would be paired with another state or union territory. They will carry out a structured engagement with one another in language, literature, cuisine, festivals, cultural events and tourism, etc. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman said the government will continue to engage with stakeholders and industry to fulfill Prime Minister Narendra Modi's vision of New India. Interacting with trade and industry representatives in Kolkata on Sunday, she said the government will act as a facilitator for hassle-free payments of taxes. She said the centre has introduced some features in the budget like faceless appeals and sorting out of problems while importing tax administration, which will be made possible with the help of new technology. She asserted that the government will continue to take steps for effective governance with ease of doing business.
I think we've laid the foundation for increasing consumption, ensuring that capex and government's investment will go towards spending on building of assets such as in infrastructure, which is sure to have a cascading effect both in the short term and in the long term. And with that, the virtuous cycle of triggering the economy to perform and move forward will be happening is the basis on which majority of government expenditure is going towards infrastructure construction. Looking at aspirational districts and making sure that infrastructure related to health, hospitals and so on are created there. At the block level, making sure that we are able to have storage for grains and having better access for the farmers. In order to address any kind of rural distress, 16 focus action points have been announced. So I expect all this to lead towards building a $5 trillion economy.
Speaking on issues related to GST, the Finance Minister said it is not the centre to initiate steps for reduction of rates. The State Minister should also represent cases so that a synergy could be built. She said that the government's investment in infrastructure sector will have both short-term and long-term impact.
Prime Minister Modi is looking at building a new India, India which really gives space for the spirit of entrepreneurship which has been ingrained in our society, especially when Prime Minister's New India wants to benefit from the technologies available, wants to use technology more as an objective interface between what is otherwise delivered by the government and what is otherwise performed by the businesses. In other words, for government to be a facilitator, today we have the advantage of technology. Faceless appeal, faceless sorting out of problems is possible because we have technology.
With this, we'll halt in for a quick breather, but we'll be back soon. Stay tuned with us.
For any foreigner, India is infinitely complex and we have to try to understand.
Like Jammu Kashmir, CAA, NRC, NPR.
I think it's very exciting to follow these debates and see how these things are evolving in such a dynamic society.
Do you feel perturbed that how Amazon forest fire could not be stopped?
In fact, they were. The fact is that information about the Amazon is very difficult to understand.
So how do you think that whether diplomacy will win or the politics will take over the role of diplomats in coming days? How will diplomats find their own ways?
I think that the good understanding between leaders is something that every diplomat dreams of.
Watch Indian Standard Time exclusive interview of Ambassador of Brazil in India, only on Rajya Sabha television.
trophy boat race of Kerala, popularly called Vallam Kali in local parlance. This historic boat race dates back to 1952 when Pandit Nehru visited the state and a pageantry of boats accompanied him from Kottayam to Alappuzha. The race, conducted on the second Saturday of August every year, is a major tourist attraction. It's generally the snake boats which participate in the race, and hence the shape of the winner's trophy is also a replica of a snake boat.
Welcome back. You're still with us on Breakfast News. As China reels under deadly coronavirus outbreak, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has conveyed to Chinese President Xi Jinping India's readiness to provide assistance to the country to deal with the situation. In a letter to Xi, PM Modi expressed solidarity with the President and people of China over the outbreak of the virus. The Prime Minister also conveyed to Xi his appreciation for facilitating evacuation of around 650 Indian citizens from the Hubei province last week. The Chinese ambassador to India has thanked Prime Minister Narendra Modi for showing solidarity with China in battling the coronavirus outbreak. He also appreciated the friendly message and offer of help from the Indian government. As China is struggling with the coronavirus, the death toll due to novel coronavirus epidemic has gone up to 908 and the number of confirmed cases have risen to over 40,000. The DGCA had stated that foreigners who have been to China on or after January 15th won't be allowed to enter India. Meanwhile, China has confirmed a worrying new fact about the deadly coronavirus, that the infections are taking place through aerosol transmission. Following this, the government has appealed for cleanliness in the region and has advised people to avoid gathering at one place. It was previously understood that two main ways the virus transmitted from person to person were direct transmission and contact transmission. A series of national Lok Adalats were held in all courts across Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh, the first of the year 2020. The Adalats were held under the overall supervision of Chief Justice, Jammu and Kashmir High Court, Justice Geeta Mittal, and Jammu and Kashmir High Court Judge, Justice Rajesh Bindal. More than 13,500 cases were taken up by 124 benches constituted for the day-long Lok Adalats. Projects worth over 400 crore rupees are under execution in Jammu and Kashmir to upgrade the sports infrastructure. The projects are being funded by the Jammu and Kashmir Infrastructure Development Finance Corporation. 100 projects of the Youth Services Department worth over 420 crore rupees are for upgrading the sports infrastructure in the Union Territory. These include the development of a number of new stadiums in rural areas. An official order has stated that Lieutenant Governor G.C. Murmu will head the 24-member reconstituted Jammu and Kashmir Science, Technology and Innovation Council. Jammu and Kashmir Chief Secretary has been nominated as the chairman of the 6-member Executive Committee of STIC. Veteran Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh ideologue, renowned thinker, writer and the founder-director of Bharatiya Vichar Kendram, P Parmeshwaran, passed away on Sunday morning at Ottapalam in Kerala. 93-year-old Parmeshwaran had worked with Deen Dayal Upadhyay, Atal Bihari Vajpayee and L.K. Advani during the Sangh days and was awarded Padma Vibhushan in 2018 and Padma Shri in 2004. Expressing grief over the passing away of Parmeshwaran, Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu took to the Twitter and said that he was a prolific writer, researcher and an embodiment of Indian thought and philosophy. His immense contribution to the society through Vivekananda Kendram and Bharatiya Vichar Kendram was invaluable, and that he is a great son of the soil whose ideas will continue to inspire and guide the nation. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also tweeted that Parmeshwaran was a proud and dedicated son of Bharat Mata and his life was devoted to India's cultural awakening, spiritual regeneration and serving the poorest of the poor. His thoughts were prolific and his writings were outstanding. He was indomitable. PM also said that he was fortunate to have interacted with Parmeshwaran many times and that he was a towering intellectual. Bangladesh beat India by 3 wickets to win maiden ICC Under-19 World Cup title in South Africa on Sunday. Batting first, India were all out for 177 in 47.2 overs. Yashasvi Jaiswal scored 88 runs off 121 balls. Earlier, Bangladesh skipper Akbar Ali won the toss and elected to field. India were unbeaten in the tournament so far, winning their all 5 matches. First-time finalist Bangladesh, on the other hand, emerged as a dark horse and beat South Africa and New Zealand in their journey to the finals. Bangladesh remained unbeaten in this tournament. It's Oscars time and the ceremony is underway. The Hollywood's biggest night of the year is taking place at Los Angeles. In some of the big announcements so far, Joaquin Phoenix has won the Oscar for Best Actor for his performance as a deranged outcast in the film Joker. Renée Zellweger has won the Best Actress award for the film Judy. Some other top winners include Brad Pitt, who won the Best Supporting Actor for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Laura Dern has won the Best Supporting Actress, her first Academy Award win for her role in Marriage Story. South Korean satire Parasite has won 3 awards so far in the categories of Best Director, Best International Feature and Best Original Screenplay. Joker is leading the pack at this year's ceremony with 11 nominations. American Factory has won the Oscar for Best Documentary Feature. The film highlights the reopening of a shuttered factory in Ohio by a Chinese billionaire. This is the first Netflix film produced by Barack and Michelle Obama's productions company. And now let's take a look at the weather conditions at major cities across the country.